How often should you update your resume? Every time you get a new skill, you should be updating your resume, because that way you keep up with your skills, instead of when it's time to do a resume and you kind of forgot, at that time you're trying to remember everything that you've done. You need to keep it fresh. And when you're looking for another job, you want to not necessarily update it, but tweak it so that your skills and abilities match the skills and abilities of the job you're applying for. If you have those skills and abilities, don't tweak it and you don't have it. If you don't know how to do Excel and they're asking for Excel, don't put you know how to do Microsoft Excel on your resume. So, but if you know how to do Microsoft Word and they're asking for Microsoft Word or Microsoft Word 2020, and you know how to do 2015, I would just put Microsoft. I'm familiar with Microsoft Word. I would put no number behind it. Do you have to disclose medical information during your interview? So no, during your interview, you do not have to disclose medical information. Hopefully you're not disclosing medical information unless you had a medical emergency during your interview, which I would hope that if you were having an emergency that you would reschedule. But you don't have to disclose your medical information. I don't know. You don't have to disclose your medical information during the interview. Now, if you're asking, if you have a disability, should you disclose your disability at that time? You don't have to disclose your disability at that time unless you choose to. Because the question is, can you do the job with or without a reasonable accommodation? Now, if you need an interpreter and for the interview, then of course, then they're going to know that you need an interpreter. But if you need larger card signs, wording on a document, you can still do the job. You just need a larger card. So you don't have to disclose that at the interview unless you feel like that you need to. But it's up to you. If you can do the job with or without a reasonable accommodation, then you're able to do your job. The question is, do you think COVID-19 stopped employers for hiring? So the answer to that is yes and no. So during COVID-19, a lot of employers closed their business. You can see the movie theater still haven't recovered. There's a movie theater that I used to go to all the time that's still closed since last April. So clearly they stopped hiring and laid all their employees off. Now, on the flip side, grocery stores are booming because people still have to eat. That didn't go away. So places are still hiring. All the places that were hiring before, no. A lot of companies are going out of business. I mean, you see it on the news every day. Macy's closing their stores, and again, movie theaters haven't recovered. So they are hiring. Employers are hiring. They are hiring. You just have to look and see if you're interested in doing the type of work that are hiring. Again, grocery stores are booming. So they're hiring people left and right because it's hard for them to keep up with the demand. But a lot of employers aren't. A lot of employers had to downsize. They had to let a lot of employees go. They had to lay off employees. So that's another thing too. So some people are hiring and some people are not. But there are a lot of employers now that are hiring and looking for good, dependable employees. So the question is, what colors should you avoid wearing for an interview? I've seen someone wear a red suit at an interview. Needless to say, he didn't get the job. So that's a good question, because a lot of times we don't necessarily talk about colors. They tell you, if you read or if you Google, black is always safe. Blue and gray and brown are usually the safe colors that you can wear to an interview. But people are a lot more open now and not always necessarily tied down to just those colors. I've seen people in, black pants and a yellow blouse, or black pants and a pink blouse. So I think you just have to be tasteful. You don't want to come, because unless you're going out for a position as a clown, you don't want to come dressed in as a clown. But I'm perfectly okay with colors. Now, again, what I like to say is read the room. And that's a really good read the room. If you look around and people, or you as you research, and people are dressing very conservative, if they're in suits and blue and black and brown, when you go to the interview, you need to be in a suit and blue and black and brown. But if it is more open, as you read the room and look around on the website and see what people are wearing, then you can say, oh well, I can wear this pink shirt or yellow shirt or green shirt and black pants. Now, I wouldn't say wear a pink shirt and pink pants. That might be a reach, but you can add a little color, or striped colored shirt. I mean, it doesn't have to be a solid shirt, or a striped colored shirt. You can wear that as well. But read the room. You don't want to come in dressed like a clown unless you're going out for a position as a clown. Is it acceptable to use family members as references? So, great question. And that I'm going to talk more about references in a second. But your family member should not be a reference, period. Because it is understood that your family's going to give you a good reference anyway. So you wouldn't put your sister or your cousin or your brother-in-law on there, because of course they're going to say something nice about you. That's usually what your family does. You're supposed to put people you've worked with, people who can vouch for your work ethic or your character, because that's what we're looking for, really. What are they going to say about you? She's a good worker. She's a hard worker. She showed up on time. She did her work. She was a team player. That's what we're looking for when you're calling for references anyway, because you're looking for to see if they're a match. So those are the references. So I want to talk a little bit more about references, in particular, that be mindful who your references are. And I'll give you a really good example, is that a lot of times you can be looking for a job, and you have a good friend of yours who works at a company that you're interested in, and that good friend of yours puts you down. You put them down as a reference because they've been working there 2 years, and they're, as far as they're doing a good job. But that person may not be doing a good job at all. You don't know that because you're not there to assess. When you go in for the interview saying, hey, Rachel referred me. Rachel works here. She has all these great things to say about the company. And I may be thinking Rachel is horrible. I'm trying to get rid of Rachel. I'm not fixing to bring in Rachel and somebody she know and have 2 Rachels. So you want to be mindful of who you have put down as a reference. Because again, you don't want to say somebody's name who is not in good standings with the employer. You want to make sure that you put somebody down, that you hope that they are in good standings with the employer, so that you can say, oh, Rachel referred you? Oh, well, Rachel, because Rachel's my best employee, so hired. And I will say on record that there have been a time or two that I've hired somebody after meeting them one time and talking to their reference, meeting them one time over the phone and talking to their reference who also worked there, and was like, they're hired because you're great. And I'm going to assume that everybody, you hang around great people, so you're in. And I've been in interviews where I always ask, did anybody from this company refer you? Oh yeah, such and such. And I put down such and such referred them and push it to the side, because such and such is not a good employee. And if they referred you, then you're going to come in here and be a clown too. So be mindful of who you put down as a reference.